Hi everyone, and welcome back to Project No Buy. It's a little bit of a dreary day today, so we're working with light that's probably going to give a lot of shadows. Apologies for that. I have revamped my shelf here. I received one more comment that was perhaps the tipping point about having popular influencer handbags in the background of my videos. I do still have one on this bottom shelf, but she might be hiding behind these little plant fronds. Should I move that so you can see the plant more? It's a fake plant, but I don't know. I don't know if that's any better, but there we go. New year, new background. This video, I'm already waffling on. This video was supposed to be a short and sweet recap of my no-buy rules for 2025, because in my previous video introducing Project No Buy, I didn't get to the rules until about 20 minutes into that video. And so I suspect that most people did not actually make it to that point. So this is the video with my no-buy rules and additional parameters for success for 2025. So I kind of figured that this went without saying, but maybe it doesn't. A no-buy doesn't mean we're not buying anything over here. It means we're not buying non-essentials. Essentially. I'm going to get more into my specific details and my specific problem categories, but obviously, or again, perhaps not obviously, a no-buy doesn't include things that you need for basic survival. So shelter, I'll pull up our every dollar budget here and go through the categories just so I don't forget any of the things that we will be paying for this year, we will be buying. And those categories will, first of all, going from the bottom, will be insurance, so health insurance and auto insurance, more health kind of payments. So if we have to visit the doctor, we're not going to not do that. The lifestyle category, if you have used every dollar before, you might kind of recognize the category headings that I'm working with here. It's just the free version of the app. We manually enter every transaction. Anyway, so lifestyle, we have a budget item for miscellaneous expenses, which that's going to be the main category of modification for a no-buy year, at least in our case. I'll get back to that later. And we have kids. So we do have a line item for kids for their dedicated expenses. We will continue to pay for a subscription for Spotify. And in fact, we may do the dual version so that we have an account each for myself and my husband in my efforts to consume less social media. So we might actually add a few dollars to that expense. We will continue to pay for our phone bill. We will continue to pay for groceries, and we will have a family restaurant budget. Our restaurant budget has never been that high, and we also never order delivery. So we will always either go to the restaurant or pick it up there. We will never pay for the delivery fees, and we do prefer to cook mostly at home. Our grocery bill is already super high, even with the emphasis for cooking at home. So we definitely don't need to be spending frivolously on eating out. We're also kind of picky, if I'm honest. So if we feel like we could have cooked a better meal at home, we really do feel like it was kind of a waste of money to eat out. So that's kind of where we're at there. We're already pretty frugal as far as restaurants. We will continue to pay for gas. We don't have a car payment at the moment, so our maintenance fees are basically just gas and any parts that need replacing. My husband actually works on cars, so not professionally, but he knows how to do all that stuff. So we don't even really pay for the labor for those kinds of things when they come up. We have utilities, so that's electric, internet, and gas payments. And every 3 months, I believe, we have trash added to that. So payment for trash and recycling. We have the next category is savings. So emergency fund, IRAs, those are the things that are really going to be hopefully knocked out of the park in 2025. That's part of my no-buy rules, my no-buy why. I'll get there again. Charitable giving is a category on every dollar. And for full transparency, we actually have not been using that category for ever since we've been using this app. We've been trying to get out of debt for years previously. And for the past few years, I'll speak for myself here, I have not had the greatest spending habits, hence doing a no-buy attempt in 2024. I was attempting no-buys before that, actually. 2024 was just my first long-term documented attempt. And in 2025, my intention is to start this charitable giving out by donating 10% or 10% after expenses from this YouTube channel's income. And that will be a separate video, so I will save that for later. And that's it. That's all the categories. So did I say the house payment? That was in the housing and utilities category, so we will obviously continue to pay for our house. And I think that really does cover all of the essentials that we will not be altering. Sorry that I'm not sharing a shot of our Every Dollar app here, but I'm not at liberty to share our entire household budget. I do have a kind of prototype for what it would look like if my income was our only income. So I might share that later when it makes sense to get into the nitty-gritty budget details. Perhaps when I update on whether I'm saving as much as I hoped that I would. We are going to modify the miscellaneous categories of spending in 2025. That is, we're going to separate it so my husband has his own kind of allotment for miscellaneous spending, and then I have mine. And I've already shared on here that my goal is to spend no more than $200 a month on non-essentials, and that includes anything that I buy. So it doesn't matter if it's a replacement or if it's a restaurant meal for me without the family. So if I'm at work, I'm going to count that as a non-essential because I could, in theory, pack a meal. It might turn out to be unrealistic because there are some days where I have a double service and packing a meal would be pretty unrealistic to do since I do have the means, when I go to work, I am making money and therefore it does feel right or okay to get a meal out with my work colleagues on those days. But I'm just going to operate like that for the first few months of the year and see how it feels. So I am, once again, getting ahead of myself a little bit, but the No Buy 2025 rules, you might have seen this already if you stayed past the 20-minute mark of the introduction. So again, if this is a repeat, you might already not be watching this video because I kind of told you that at the beginning. But anyway, if you're here and seeing it again, I still appreciate you. Rules for No Buy 2025. This kind of is building on my rules from 2024 of no clothing, no makeup, no books, no kind of extras, no homewares, no kitchen gadgets, basically nothing that's non-essential and not in the categories that I already talked about as being essential. But I'm going further with 2025 because I didn't succeed that well in 2024. If you've already seen the recap videos, you will know that. And it's not that I am preparing for failure, but I'm creating multiple circles of success, if that makes sense. So circle one, the center of that circle of success is that I actually do a no buy, stick to everything that I intend to not buy with no exceptions, and everything goes as it was supposed to go in 2024. That's like the tiny inner circle of success. And then the next levels of that circle will kind of deal with some of these parameters. So the first parameter of success I have on here is the budget and the savings. That's kind of maybe the next level of parameters where I stick to the monthly allotted budget every single month for the no buy year. It can roll over. So if I spend more than $200 in a month, but it comes from previous months, that's okay. And I, more importantly, perhaps than sticking to the budget, actually save the intended amounts per month. And that has to come first, right? Paying myself the savings has to be a much higher priority than it ever has been before. And that also might solve some of the feelings of having extra income whenever I get extra gig money and things like that. Like I need to have a savings plan in place for when that happens. And I'm going to be working with percentages. And I guess the idea is that it will be a cumulative effect where if our spending stays in line for all of the other categories, then there won't be so much catch up that has to be done whenever extra money comes in. So this previous year, we did have several unexpected, unforeseen expenses. So some dental work, radon mitigation for the house. These things were kind of $1,000 or more. They're not cheap change that we could just kind of pay for without feeling behind in other areas or without sacrificing savings. And it's likely that that kind of stuff is going to happen again in one way or another, right? Some form, some unexpected expense will probably come up, but the plan is to try to stay on top of it more month to month and be more aggressive with the savings. So that is the second circle of success. I would like to think that it will be easy to do 12 months of complete no buy. But judging from this previous year, where I only managed 4 months of successful no buy out of 12, right? A third of the year, which is better than it probably ever has been before, let's be honest. But a third of the year was what I accomplished. I reasonably think I can aim for 6 months of the year, right? Maybe 2/3 of the year would be great, 8 months. This might be another good, better, best scenario where good would be 6 months, better would be 8 months, and best would be 12 months. So that's almost its own circle of success, right? No buy for 12 months, no buy for 8, no buy for 6 months. The 6-month rule, at minimum, I am going to at least try to, let's say I fail spectacularly already and I need to kind of regroup. I am going to try to at least make it so that every other month is a guaranteed no buy. And what that will do is it will make sure that the waiting period is at least a month, right? So if I buy something in January, then February has to be a no-buy, so that anything that I might think that I need in February has to wait until March, if that makes sense. And realistically speaking, probably a wise move to make would be to designate November as a possible to buy month, right? And therefore December and October are automatically no buy months. And that's mainly for practical reasons, because I do live with people, I have a family, and there are other people in my life who would like to continue celebrating holidays and birthdays and things. And I'm not going to count things like kids' birthday gifts in my personal no buy, because I just don't think that's reasonable to prepare that far in advance. Although I might actually have enough things kind of laying around saved for birthday occasions that I may or may not actually have to buy something for those birthday occasions that come up throughout the year. I don't know. I'll share about those when I get to them throughout the year. Things like new clothes or new to us clothes when people grow out of things, I am also not going to, I'm working on developing a wardrobe formula for both myself and everybody else in our household, maybe except for my husband because I can't control what he does. But I'm working on developing a formula for how much is reasonable, right? Relative to how often we actually use what we need. And by that, I mean, how often do I leave the house and need to wear a leaving the house outfit that doesn't truly overlap with everything that I wear around the house, right? So I do actually wear what I'm wearing today around the house, this sweater and these pants, and I could also wear this to work and it would be acceptable. But I do have clothes like silk shirts or trousers that I would not wear around the house. And so it's kind of those items that I need to really have a set number for and not go over that number, no matter how tempting it might be to buy another work appropriate item if I don't actually need it. And I already know that I don't need it. I'm going to get to that later in January, but I already know that I don't need as much work clothing as I have. So when people go to school and when other people go to work, things like that, it'll be a case of how many outfits or articles of clothing do you actually need for that activity, and we'll have a formula for that so that we won't be buying things outside of those formulas. Okay, so all of that to say, at least 6 months of mandatory no-buy, hopefully 8 months, hopefully if we count November as the month where I buy the Christmas and birthday gifts for myself or where I talk through those purchases with my husband. Again, a loose plan. I may actually not end up buying my gifts this year, but I'm kind of doing some more work in that area before that point arrives once again. So maybe 11 months of no-buy as far as the plan at the outset. I do also have holiday parameters already illustrated, which I talked about in the previous video, where it was going to be something like 2 items of any category under the tree, plus an optional book, plus 2 beauty products for smaller kind of stocking stuffers for myself is what's going to be allowed. And then 1 of each of those categories for my birthday. And that's an if I want something, not I have to buy that much stuff for myself when the time comes or wish list it so someone buys it for me. Again, we'll be workshopping this throughout the year. I'll be doing inner reflection to see what actually feels right. But that is the kind of top limit for myself this year, if all continues as it did last year. So the plan is in place. We have a kind of determined allotment for that and the reasons for that as well. Building on the experience from 2024. In the category of the wardrobe, I legitimately don't think I need anything this year. However, if I do end up buying any clothing pieces, I want to stick to the rule of 5. And I'm not sure I made this clear in the previous video because I was talking about the rule of 5 and then therefore the good, better, best for that being, best would be 5, better would be 10, good would be 15. Based on the fact that I got 25 pieces of clothing in 2024, I believe. And so my goal is still 0 because I cognitively think that I don't need anything new for my wardrobe. However, I'm also aware that circumstances come up, things change, or I don't know what I would do, for example, if I signed up for a run next year in 2025, which is kind of one of my loose goals, and maybe one of the things that you get when you sign up is a sweatshirt or a t-shirt or something. And, for example, that could count as one of my 5 clothing pieces for this year. And, these are kind of gray areas, but my bottom line point here is that I don't want to acquire more than 5 new to me pieces of clothing, thrifting included. And part of that is because I know I don't need anything. And if I keep the idea of not having more than 5 new things enter my life, at least that gives an additional parameter for if and when a situation comes up, like the situation that happened in summer of 2024, where I didn't have a swimsuit option that felt comfortable to play with little kids in. You know, I have 2-piece swimsuits. I have 1-pieces that ride up in the back. And so I legitimately did get a lot of use out of the one tank top that I bought. And I considered that a no-buy kind of exception because it was a replacement or something. It wasn't even actually a replacement. I just didn't have anything in that category. And would there have been options around it? Sure, I could have worn a 1-piece with a massive wedgie with some shorts on top. Would it have been comfortable for my needs? No. And did I have the means to buy a swimsuit top? And did I go in person and try it and, try to do it in the most conscious way possible? Yes. So again, if a circumstance like that comes up in 2025 where there is a need or a circumstance that would be alleviated by acquiring a new piece of clothing, at least I have the rule of 5 in the back of my mind. And if for some reason I go completely off the rails, I do have the 15 maximum. And again, I'm not planning to fail, but just based on what happened in 2024, when my goal was to do a complete no-buy, and I ended up with 25 new pieces, this will at least ensure an improvement from the previous year's results, if that makes sense. I would love to be sitting here this time next year or at the end of this year reporting that I bought 0 new to me clothing pieces. That's my dream, and that is my goal, and that is what I will be pursuing. And I can sit here and cognitively tell you as well that I don't need any more clothing. Okay, the next point on here is to read the books that I have, and that is my reason to not buy any more books. And I have kind of a loose goal of reading at least 5 books a month, and by the end of the year, kind of decluttering the corner of my office space downstairs. I did remove all the books from my bedroom because my husband was not happy that books were kind of piled up against the walls and strewn about, and I have them in the corner of the office now, and I do hope to completely clear that space by the end of the year at the pace of at least 5 books a month, most of which will probably make an appearance on this channel. And I am quite determined to not buy any more books until I have done that, until I have read all the ones that I have that I want to read. And I'm not saying that I can't use the library services and get some new to me books that I borrow for no cost. And I will perhaps have a couple of exceptions when I take the books that I've read to donate and get the credit from Half Price Books. I will turn around and use that on a book purchase, and it'll probably be a single book because when you take a lot of books for credit, you still only typically get $5 to $10 back. So I'm not anticipating that that will result in a huge pile of books entering my life. And in fact, I can probably make a point to at least wait until June, maybe, depending on how fast my book donation box fills up, so that I won't be making any book purchases until the month of June. And I guess as well, that'll count as a month of not no-buy, and so I'm going to have to plan that strategically as well. I'm hoping that all of these parameters are going to make this more of a fun challenge too, because there is going to be some flexibility as far as buying things, and therefore I can kind of gamify it, right? If I run out of a makeup or beauty product and I have to buy one that month or can't wait until the next month or whatever the case may be, then it becomes a case of, oh, it's a challenge now to not buy anything the next month to keep my 6 months of no-buy rules in check, where at least every other month is a no-buy. And again, I'm going to be talking about makeup and beauty products in a separate video coming up in January, so it'll kind of become more clear why this is going to be hopefully fun and doable for me. Okay, so the next rule is to do with makeup and beauty replacements only, and I'm also possibly going to be tracking the kinds of uses for this as well. So similar to clothing, where I don't have to get dressed for work every day, it's the same with makeup, where I don't have to do a makeup look every day. And if I'm just at home, I wear 0 makeup. If I'm doing something kind of every day, like going to work or maybe even filming a video, I will have everyday makeup. And if I want to have a makeup look, then that will be a kind of real makeup day or a fun makeup day. And so I kind of want to gather some information on what percentage of the time is like a real makeup day and uses the kind of real makeup-y products in my collection. So like the bold lipsticks and eye products, and then heavier kind of foundation. Not foundation, actually, I never wear foundation, but like the tinted moisturizers. And then what percentage of the time I'm using the lighter category of products or kind of everyday, which for me, like winged eyeliner is an everyday product. So it's going to be different for me than it is for you. And, when I wear 0 makeup, it is a 0 kind of sometimes it's a 0 products day because sometimes I won't even do skincare on those days either. So there we go. I'll get more into that in another video. Okay, and then I do have a couple more goal notes here. Just wanting less and wanting in a way that's much more beneficial to me. So not feeling manipulated by ads or influencer content, and doing a bunch of loop covers on my viola. I've already figured out that doing the 50 loop covers is probably going to be way too many, and it's probably going to be more of a category of aiming for 20. So I had the good, better, best, good being 20, better being like 35, and best being 50. But unless I get a lot better at doing them this year, which might be the case, right? Last year I was only doing one YouTube video a week, and that started as a struggle, and then I ended up doing one every day in December almost with Vlogmas. And now, even in a year where I said I would do 2 per week, I'm already kind of slated to do 3. So we'll see how it goes with the loop covers once I start getting into them in earnest. But I am already finding it challenging to attempt doing the full pop songs that I want to, and also make the time to do that every week and budget the time that it might take to do a full cover. So it has proven to be more challenging already than I thought. And then life goals, exercising once a week at least, keeping up my Duolingo Spanish streak, and looking for ways that I might kind of organically expand that, continue to practice for orchestra auditions, and prioritize presence with my family, and work on more no phone days, no phone hours, more no phone portions of the day. So those are kind of my resolutions and my rules for No by 2025. So perhaps this video didn't exactly fulfill the function that I wanted it to as far as being a short and sweet version of my No by rules, but hopefully you got something out of it anyway. Hopefully it did clarify some of my rules and my reasons for having the rules that I do. I am still aiming for a no buy, a real strict project no buy. But going off of what I learned last year, these are kind of the more realistic parameters for success that I can expect going forward into this year. And does that make it not a no buy? Sure. But I do still like the idea of no buy, because the goal is to not buy things. And if I approach with a low buy in mind, it kind of really feels nebulous to me. Like it's not a concrete goal. You know, low buy is kind of more flexible, even just when you hear somebody talking about the title of a low buy. So even if what I am doing, what I'm trying to do is really a low buy, I'm going to continue with the mentality of no buy and the title of no buy. And sorry if that bothers you. I understand if it's not satisfying for some people because it's not really a no buy and one cannot fulfill the requirements of an actual no buy. Like, I understand that, but for me, the mentality is maybe more fun, more of a inspiring challenge, more of the mantra that I want to focus on, right? Reluctance to buy and not buying things, not buying it, focusing on resisting the manipulation of all the forces that want us to buy. Even low buy, opens the door to some of that manipulation in my mind. So there we go. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up here before we waffle on in what was supposed to be a very clear and succinct video. I guess that's just not really in my wheelhouse. Oh, let me know if you're doing a no buy or a low buy for 2025, and let me know your rules. Drop them in the comments below. Let me know if there's anything you think I missed or should add to my rules, and let me know if there's anything you picked up from this video that you might add to your own. All right, bye for now for real. I will see you in the next one.